know, the treaty of peace between the Gibeonites and Joshua had been based on a hoax or a scam that the Gibeonites, in being slick, had run against the children of Israel, in accordance with Joshua 9, 1 through 13, which y'all should all read. Because that scam that the Gibeonites pulled on Joshua and the children of Israel, it was a doozy. It was something that only con artists and scammers could pull up. Y'all need to read that. But anyway, the Gibeonites, in being a shrewd and opportunistic people, they knew that even though the peace treaty had been built or based or made on a hoax or a scam that they pulled, they knew that it still had to be honored in accordance with the law of God. So they just laid low, working amongst the children of Israel while awaiting their chance to be vindicated and to obtain sweet retribution from King Saul's family. Y'all with me so far? And it was this vindication and retribution that came sooner or later by way of a 3-year famine in accordance with 2 Samuel 21 and 1. Except unlike other famines that happened in the Bible that primarily consisted of food shortages, the famine that they underwent, talking about the children of Israel and King David, the famine that they underwent was different, since in accordance with Deuteronomy 32 and 24, it was the type of famine that was referred to as being a wasting or weakening famine that involved burning heat, bitter destruction, and vicious attacks from wild beasts and poisonous serpents. What's more, this famine was so severe that everyone and everything for 3 consecutive years was dying a slow and painful death from the burning fevers, blistering heat, deadly diseases, and starvation, all because of what Saul did, which is what caused the people, I believe, to cry out to King David for relief. Then David, upon hearing the constant cries of his people and seeing the land in total devastation for so many years, in accordance with my studies of the Midrash book, which is an ancient rabbinic interpretation of the scriptures, it was after David had questioned the Israelites every year for 3 years about their faithfulness to God and finding no indiscretions, then somehow blaming himself for the famine due to him having married Rizpah, who was his father-in-law Saul's wife. It was after his failure to blame the famine on himself or on the children of Israel, where David then inquired of the Lord the real reason for the famine and what he needed to do as king to resolve it. So the Lord, in response to David's question, told him in verse 1 of 2 Samuel 21 that the famine was due to what Saul had done early on to the Gibeonites when he had tried to obliterate them from the territory of Israel. And so upon hearing this, it would be in King David's attempt to rectify Saul's egregious blunder, where his consultation with the Gibeonites to see how he could make amends in order to bring an end to the famine, it would be in his attempt to make amends where Rizpah, the mother, would face the biggest trial of her entire life, which would be the death of her 2 sons, as well as the death of the 5 grandsons of Saul, who were part of her family.